My body is a landscape of conquest. My mixed features excite you, thirsty for that fantasy you won't admit consumes you. My body is a game to see how far you can get. Like a gift I will so preciously give you, make you seem like a king. Except you're looking through a manifest veil, because I'm clearly giving hints, and my motionless body should be enough to tell you that this is not a gift, but an act of extracting wealth that was not yours to begin. I'm probably going to say a lot, but that's okay.
That's okay.
So the first time I really felt that I could express myself and that I felt grounded in the beginning of a journey, I would say, is the first time I sang. And in my music, I'd say I kind of speak a lot about love, whether that's indigenous love, queer love, or kind of the violence that's been a lot of a part of my experience growing up as a queer indigenous woman. So I connect that a lot to the land and as we see in these indigenous resistance movements against pipelines and against environmental destruction in general.
I'm been working as a activist for American Indian movement and for indigenous people for over 40 years, and trying to incorporate our culture and promote indigenous and native artists. I have an organization that I started called Oyate Otainen, which means Voices of the People. And it's like artists that are performing, trying to lead a movement for the next 500 years. I started writing like poetry and stuff when I went to Vietnam. I remember one year I wrote every day. I would try to write something. And if I didn't write something, I rewrite on something, or I would just reread it and change it around, add a couple together. I just wanted to see if I could do it. And then I kept writing even after when I started running into the American Indian movement. I found out I was Indian, found my family. And during this period, so many things are happening, you know. I mean, I was just finding out I was Indian and all this kind of stuff. I'm glad to be alive. Franklin Avenue was just like a big party, you know. All the Indians were happy to be alive, be Indian, and there was just all this excitement and all this stuff going on.
Let's see here. I work at Paulo Ground's coffee shop as a barista, and I also try to build bridges between cultures, and I try my best to do that on a daily basis. What art means to me is, in the context of building bridges, always in this gallery, you always see a whole melting pot of people, which is really, really cool. We get people from all over the world. And that's where that bridge is at. That art of creativity, the art of self-awareness, spirituality, right? The bone down definition of spirituality is self-awareness, being self-aware, right? And art breaks all that stuff.
So I think, creative resistance art, movement work, I think, when you think about creating something, you want to think about, who your audience is going to be, who's going to view it, who's going to see it. And, when you're doing that, on a local level, it's really easy because it's people that you see every day. It's a community that you're familiar with. But when you're doing it on a national or global level, you have to constantly be thinking about other communities that are outside of yourself, right? So you have to be looking through different lenses. I'm lucky enough that I have the opportunity to travel, and I have friends that live in a bunch of different places, you know, from varying degrees of class and community. So I can ask them, you know, hey, what's going on? What's something that's going on in your neighborhood or in your community, your hometown, your state? You know, what's something that you are resisting right now, and how can I uplift and empower you in that movement? And, you know, when folks ask me, you know, what is it that you're doing in Minneapolis? You know, right now we just had, you know, a bunch of indigenous women and non-indigenous folks get together, and it was all women-led, female-identifying artists that got together, intergenerational. It was grandmas, it was aunties, it was big and little sisters, you know, working together and saying, you know, hey, we want to draw some attention to some really, really integral pieces of our culture. And, you know, what are those? Okay, well, you know, let's talk about the minomen, you know, the wild rice, and let's talk about you know, Nibby the water, and let's talk about murdered missing indigenous women, because why are we still losing our sisters all the time? And, you know, it was really wonderful to see these women from varying age groups, different backgrounds come together and just really be able to say, you know, hey, it's not just me that's hurting about this. You know, I can see that you're hurting too. So we had this art of resistance, embodying and reclaiming the sacred, that the girls put on, and it was this really, really wonderful, powerful exhibit where we had the really, really hard work of young women who are deeply impacted by the goings-on in today's society, and who are young, so people, you know, are quick to write them off, but they're powerful. And I'm just grateful that I have the opportunity in my work as a movement worker to, you know, say, do you want to put together an art exhibit about these things that, you know, are deeply impacting you? And then to have all of these creative people, you know, these artists come out of the woodwork, you know, folks that we didn't even know were interested previously in doing any sort of work like this, come out and say, hey, I haven't really known how to use my voice or my strength, or I haven't known how to offer, you know, my power and my hopes and dreams to this fight, and how can I support? And through art, that's how you can support in whatever means necessary.
My art is like a survival strategy, I'd say, because that's how I can get through the day and think of moves we can make, we can make together to create change, and also like heal from that. So I'd say creative resistance work deals a lot with our empathy. Our empathy is revolutionary.
Okay, so what sparked my the peak of my arts and creative resistance would be Standing Rock. I was one of the core art crew members, and I was able to work in the art studio. We stood up late nights making screen prints for the front lines, creating banners, something as simple as signs for the mess halls, or, you know, I made arrows to direct people to legal. You know, so every day there was work to be done. Security guards needed badges. So really our messaging and our art was spread all over that camp, and so a little piece of us was everywhere. Everywhere you looked, you know, you saw a sign that we made, or you saw a patch that we made, and it spread all over the world. Our art spread all over the world, and I think that's such a beautiful thing. And it's continuing to do so through movements. Not only is it spreading through the world, but we're able to spread it through movements as individuals and all the different movements we all work on. Personally, in the past year, as I've been able to grow, I became part of the American Indian movement, which has been such a blessing because I'm able to be on the front lines as an indigenous human, and just making that difference, and fighting for what I believe in: clean water, clean air, basic human rights.
How can I do something that isn't just boring old marches or shouting around saying this is what democracy looks like, right? I want to do something that's incredible. People aren't going to come up to me on the street when I'm shouting with a megaphone and say, hey, Erin, really want to chat to you right now about what you're talking about, right? It's going to be hard. So if I have a piece of art, say a t-shirt or something like that, and they can say, you know, hey, what's stop line 3? What does that mean to you? I could say, well, I screen printed it actually. I learned how to do this with some of my other artist friends. I brought it home, taught other people how to do it. And now I get to wear this piece of art every single day. That's a reminder to me that this event, this, this pipeline, this fight, whatever it is important to me enough that I put it on something that I'm willing to wear. And wearable art, is incredible resistance, right? Because a lot of times in times of hardship, or especially with people of color, we have our clothes taken away from us, right? It's a sign of humiliation to be removed from your homes, to be removed from the things that you know and love, to have your belongings taken away from you, to have your clothing taken away from you. So to even be here, right, our very existence is our resistance. But the fact that we have something that we can put on our bodies is, an active homage to all those people beforehand that had their clothes taken away from them, their dignity stripped from them. And not only can I say, hey, I'm putting something on my back and I'm also putting it on yours by proxy, but I'm wearing something that people will be prompted to ask questions about. And when I talk about that, I can also honor the work that you did before me.
My organizing work developed into the Native Arts Circle and that work, but my background really was that when I was a young woman, when I said I always made art, it's like when you're a young person in a poor community, you sort of make everything. So I made dance outfits, I sewed, I beaded, I worked with the family that I traveled with in the summer and helped at a powwow. So I'd always, we had a food stand, so I'd always help with the cooking, I'd help with the beading and things that we needed for stuff for our stand. And today, when I got to a point where I had made many, many things and I was still making them, and my friend said, you should come sell with me. So I started making more things. So I call it Remaking Life Beautiful. And I call it that because my belief is that we're all here to make life beautiful. And the nature of that is anything. It could be song, it could be dance, it could be stories, it could be sewing, and it could be anything. And I think that's part of the gift of life, is that we get to explore what that means. A lot of times when you have your tobacco somewhere in your bag in a little pouch that you have to undo, and it needs 2 hands. So these little pouches I started making because in my idea of remaking life beautiful, it's based on also recycling things. So you see the piece of Pendleton around it is quite small. It's not very big. So I have the same idea around working with leather. It's like I work with all the little pieces that are left so that there's always something beautiful in something. It doesn't matter. It's a matter of how much encouragement you give to bringing that light out. So that's kind of what I see in my work and my role in life, is to constantly not let go of that idea that there's always something more you can do.
Art is really important for these movements. It makes people feel, and making people feel gives people that perspective to take action. And without action, we won't really be able to get anywhere. So, for instance, street art is something that I hold a special place in my heart for, because when people are going through their day-to-day, you can look to your right and see, a piece of art on the wall. It automatically gives them that perspective. It reminds them we need to protect our water. We need to protect, the first medicine, the thing that gives us life. Because we're a learned society, I feel like a lot of us humans are learned, and a lot of the things that we're doing that hurts the earth have been taught to us, and people don't know any better. So I think it goes back to showing people perspective, getting people to relate, getting people to feel, getting people to realize that they're hurting the earth, and that it's by hurting the earth, it's hurting them. I don't think a lot of people have that perspective.
Mitakuya Oyase, which means all my relations, or I am related to everything. Everything that is alive, I'm related to it. That flame that is living in that little plant and ant is the same flame that's existing in us. My earth, she is alive. Walking, talking, singing and dancing and feeling, just like us. She calls me son. I have been with her every moment of my existence, and I will be buried in her for infinity. She loves me like no other, and I love her like no one else can, forever, forever, as long as I live.